Hey, Ian, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Anthony.
That's great to hear. So we are taking a little pilgrimage through all the Enneagram types and parenting. And we've been excited to roll this out to our listeners. And today, you want to tell us what number we're on?
Number 8, the
Number.
challenger.
Yes.
As the uh, as the son of a challenger mother, I have a lot to say about their many virtues and talents. There's never a dull moment when you have an A parent. They're energetic fireballs who are pretty much always on the move. So when they've done some work on themselves, they're protective, they're empowering, and they lead their children with kindness, humor, and clarity. They're really, really great.
That's good.
But
Yes. Yes. You want to tell us about some of the shadow side or when it can go sideways on us?
yeah, man, when 8 parents are on autopilot, like every other number, they can start to create real problems in relationships with their children. They can become impatient, blind and insensitive to their kids' feelings, occasionally explosive, sometimes unpredictably, and they
Mm.
can make, this is interesting about eights, they can make and expect others to follow the rules that they themselves can turn around and break.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, listen, I know many skillful 8 parents who have really worked hard to maximize their gifts and minimize their weaknesses. And so I know a little bit about them just based on personal experience and observation.
Could you give us, as you've done in the past, some tips that would be helpful for transformation for the eights and their parenting skills?
Yeah, sure. Number 1, practice the pause.
Okay.
Uh, 8 parents need to remember that there is always a space between the stimulus and the response, and that they have the freedom to pause before they act or speak.
Mm.
So one of my 8 friends once told me, he said, I've learned that when one of my kids does something that makes me angry, that I've got to stop and count to 10 before I shoot from the lip.
Oh, wow. That's good.
I love that.
That's really great. Okay. So practice the pause. Practice the
Yes.
pause. That's good. How about tip number 2?
Dial it back. 8 parents are often unaware of their intensity and their gusto for life. I mean, and they are doers,
Right.
big time doers. And boredom quickly can set in for
Mm.
an 8 parent when they're not on the move. And if they're not careful, their high voltage personalities that are always wanting to go somewhere or do something can exhaust their kids,
Right.
right? So self-aware 8 parents know when it's time to get the troops up and moving and when the troops need downtime.
I love that. So dial it back. And I think, and we've said this before, that the eight can fill up the room in such a big way that it doesn't create enough space sometimes for the other people that are in the room. And in this situation, we're talking about children, I think you need to be extra sensitive about
Yes.
dialing it back. So
Yes.
practice the pause, dial it back. How about tip number 3?
Own your part.
It's good.
Um, 8 parents who lack self-awareness often have a hard time accepting their part of the blame when things go wrong. So if their kids tell them they've said or done something that hurt them, they even, this is again an unskillful 8. They may even make matters worse by saying something like, "Oh, you're too sensitive."
Mm,
You know,
okay.
so it's really important for 8 parents to take responsibility for their mistakes and say out loud, "I'm sorry," when they're wrong.
It's
In my
good.
experience as a parent, few things are more powerful than those moments when a parent offers a sincere apology to their 8-year-old, their 9-year-old, their 10-year-old. It just models humility, and it models the way that they should move through the world.
I agree. That's really powerful. So practice the pause. Tip number 1. Tip number 2, dial it back. And tip number 3, Enneagram 8s, own your part. Do you have a last little word for us to part on, Ian?
I'm so grateful I had an 8 parent. My
Mm,
You know, my mother embodied and modeled what it meant to live life to the full, and then some.
Those stories are legendary. Well, we're thankful that the eights are with us, and we thank you, Ian, for these tips for parents who are eights today.
Love to all our 8 parents.
Peace.